And I'll share the project board screen. Okay. You should have a meeting item for today. It didn't look like that worked, Andre.
Oh shoot! Okay,
Let me
I'll
just
look into that. Yeah.
I'll just create one for meeting 11. Might be
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Yeah. No, these things happen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's meeting 11. Or what's the place? 18th. 18th. Yeah. Make a holding. Okay, well, I'll populate that after the meeting in time so people aren't watching me just typing the meeting agenda here. I'll use the old meeting to do the introduction.
It's weird. It says it did it, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
Yeah, welcome to the SingularityNET archive meeting, fortnightly meeting every 2 weeks. The SingularityNET archive contains a history of the activities of the SingularityNET Ambassador Program. And our goal is to provide a collaborative platform for the SingularityNET archive community to share knowledge, ideas, and best practices. We welcome contributions from anyone interested in SingularityNET, whether it's a new project, code example, or documentation. The way this meeting proceeds is through like a kind of stand-up of a GitHub project board, where we go through action items and we record who's present, and we then go through each item on the project board. Okay, so going just a quick note on that, Andre, then. So the GitHub action for producing the meeting item,
yes,
you'll look at that and see if we can resolve that issue. Okay.
yeah,
So
yeah, I'll look.
yeah. Okay, for Peter, I noticed Peter, you just put in an agenda item there. So I'll just put in agenda items here for the time being, and I'll tidy this up later. But first of all, we'll go through the project board. And then we go through
it's sorry, Stephen, it did create the issue. It's just not on the project board. So I'll drop the issue.
right.
Maybe
Okay.
Yeah, it's there. It's just in kind of pre. You can just move it into.
Okay. Okay. Then I'll probably delete that one then. I don't see it there at all. No.
No, there's a section that. Oh, let me just see what it's actually called. It's not
Can you
to
drop a
do.
link
It's
to
the
it,
one
Andre?
before.
Yeah, it's in chat. The issue is in chat. So oh, no status. It's got no status.
Yeah, it needs to go to in progress.
I'm gonna.
Okay, so it did work, but it's gone into in progress. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So that should pop up now, and we should have 2 meetings. So there you go. Yeah. I'll delete the one I've created because that's superfluous. Oh, the wonders of GitHub. And we have a meeting issue. Hooray. Right. Okay, so the agenda items, we go through the project board, and Peter, you wanted to raise read AI. Is that just a comment in passing, or?
Oh, you have something to touch on. I mean, I see Vanessa disagreeing in chat. So.
Well, we can disagree on that. Let's come round to it as an agenda item, and I'll just put it to see how we go through the project board first, if that's okay. So I'll just put project board, and then we'll look at that, what you just mentioned there. Read AI. Are there any other agenda items people want to raise?
Maybe just the automated closing of the previous meeting issue. I'm just wondering, should it be automated or should we do it in the meeting when we've checked that all the action items in it are signed off?
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, we can discuss that later. It does do that, yeah. But we can discuss that later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right. If it does, then that's fine. It just looked to me as if it had closed it without us confirming that.
What I think it does is it carries it forward to the new issue. So, but let's get on to that. Let's go through the project board. Okay. Peter, you have your hand up.
Yeah, another minor, not really agenda item, I guess, but a check-in on if the fund requests for September are in.
Okay, I'm actually just did some work on that before the meeting, and fund requests. Right. Okay. I think the short answer to that is maybe yes. But I've been talking to. Maybe get onto that after we've gone through the project board. Okay. So the first item on the agenda is the ambassadors GitBook.
I mean, I've got an action item. I know I haven't had time, so I think we can just leave this into the session if that's all right.
Yeah, if the action items are still pending from the previous issue, we will just note that and go on to the next issue. The archive, well, there's two archive GitBooks, one for September and one for October. Is the September one broadly completed now?
Well, just before the meeting, I was going through the things that are listed as needing chasing. I'm ticking them up if we've got an answer, even if it's no, there isn't one.
Right.
But I'm adding Ambassador Town Hall videos on their own for those if we haven't got a summary, if that seems all right to everybody.
Right.
And I'm talking to, I mean, Kenichi hasn't got back yet, where he said in the last meeting that we had that he has summaries, he just needs to edit them. I'm talking to Rojo on Friday, so hopefully we can kind of sort that out. But then, yeah, I just wanted to see what people think about deep funding Town Hall. Did we say that because if you stop scrolling about.
Yeah, go on.
We said in the last meeting I raised, should we be archiving it? And I don't think we had a final conclusion. If you just scroll down to the last meetings.
Yeah.
If you just scroll down to the last meeting, we didn't have a definite decision. So I was just hoping we could get that. What are we doing with deep funding Town Hall? Are we seeing it as not really an ambassador's thing, so it doesn't go in the archive? Are we just adding a link to the video? Are we what?
Right. Okay. So have you met with Kenichi on meeting templates? Or you didn't?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is not actually anything to do with September GitBook, so that action shouldn't really be there. That's about meeting templates.
Okay. Okay, so what's our view on the deep funding Town Hall?
Because there was that suggestion from Kenichi that we could ask people to summarize it via a bounty. But I don't know whose budget that should come out of. But do we even want that? I don't know.
I would
Yeah.
say potentially deep funding. If the deep funding wants that, they could request that, or we could offer it, I guess.
Yeah.
But seeing they have quite a different budget than ours, let's put it like that.
Yeah.
We should
I
be
mean,
taking.
I suppose it's about making things simple, Peter, isn't it? So if we're archiving, I suppose our remit is to archive the ambassadors program, to be fair. But there's a lot of crossover with deep funding. Do you think, Peter, or is that so just as a kind of, or do you think that's superfluous?
Sorry, I didn't catch.
Do you think we should leave out deep funding? Do you think that's okay from our remit, or do you think it's relevant enough to include?
Well, sure. On relevance, it would be great to have. Absolutely. It's just
Right.
Yeah. If it brings substantial costs to us, I would say we should have a talk with deep funding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, maybe we
could just put a link to the video, but an untimestamped video is almost useless. So from an archival point of view. So we'd have to do something. We'd have to either timestamp it or ask somebody to give a summary.
I think the timestamping, in a best case scenario, deep funding would create bounties for timestamping there as well. And whether that's done through deep funding team or the focus group, I think that's still in flux. But yeah, a quick check-in with them if they are interested at all. And if not, yeah, we can do it ourselves. Or well, then we can have the discussion whether we wanted to do it ourselves. But I think ideally deep funding should take charge. Yeah.
Right. You want to take that up as an action, Vanessa, as you're in the focus group?
Yeah, sure. It just feels like the focus group is probably not who we need to ask. I mean,
Right.
this is like a deep funding decision. I mean, I'll bring it up, obviously, but
Yeah.
it might just get passed from pillar to post. Does deep funding even have its own DWork board? Does anyone know?
Yes.
It does.
The town hall is done by community members. It's its own. Well, you could see it as a work group. They have workspace and bounty system, so yeah, it can be.
All right, cool. It's awful that I don't know. I should know, but
right, that's interesting. I didn't know that as well. So it has its own DWork build. So there you have infrastructure. You know, okay, so potential infrastructure is in place. Yeah.
The DWork board is just a space under ambassador program, and that was used previously, but that actually is not used anymore, in my opinion.
But it could be reused though, TiVo, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting. But as you say, so could you take that to the focus group?
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do that, and I'll also chat, as Peter says in the chat, the actual deep funding town hall team, which is basically Fly, Cran, Rojo to an extent. Yeah, I can talk to.
All right. Okay. Talk to for the focus group and deep funding team. Okay. Okay. So do we want that action associated with September then?
I mean, yes, I think so, because that's when we started. Unless, are you thinking that you really want to close September?
No, because
it feels like it maybe ought to just be in September, and then I can fix it. Yeah.
I mean, I think if it comes to costs now, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, with the referring back to what Peter was saying about fund requests, I'm now adding the fund request date for them as a milestone. So we can put September in here, for example. If we know that's going to be costed against September, I can put it in as a milestone rather than when it's closed. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, TV, I was kind of communicating with you a bit about this. But this does mean that when we export, that we can export the whole board as a CSV file and then have this associated with September as a cost. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the last TSV file you sent that also included dates, the due dates and start dates.
It will include the due date and the start date, but the due dates and start dates don't necessarily relate to fund request date. They may do most of the time, but they don't always relate. They can't. They're more about the task, when the task was due, and sometimes they're not consistent. But this milestone will be the date of the fund request. That's what we're saying. Is that okay? And that'll be exported. Yep. That'll be exported as simple as, we might as well discuss it now, actually. So all you need to do is go to a project board and export view data. And then there you go. It's just into a spreadsheet. And there you have the milestones here. So you have the fund request dates automatically. And as you wanted, TiVo, we have you just want that instead of the fund request. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So that kind of answers your question earlier, Peter.
Yep. Yeah, it does. Just wanted to check in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of paused because I just did that in the past hour. I just updated the data in the past hour because it wasn't complete. So I still need to just post that in Treasury Guild's Discord channel. So that's all that needs to be done, so on that. Okay, sorry, off topic. Do we want to discuss October as well, Vanessa?
I don't think there's anything to discuss yet because we're not at the end of October. We're still getting summaries in, and I haven't really assessed what's missing from the weeks that have gone so far yet. So I don't know if it's worth saying, but it does feel as if we're not getting very much in for October. I don't know if it's just that things are not happening and people are not meeting as much, but I don't know. It's just something to flag up, and we can maybe discuss next meeting when I've got all of October will then hopefully be done.
Okay. With reference to what we just discussed, I put the cost milestone for October as October. So that will be the fund request date for October. Okay. On the archive GitBook backlog, as per the ambassador's GitBook item, I haven't done any work on this. So that's my bad. I still need to do the remaining work. So that is still to be done. So I need to move on from that. Just checking the chat.
I think in the last meeting, you were going to kind of assess what material we have rather than ploughing through.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a plan. I have a cunning plan, and the cunning plan is basically to, just says it there really, it is just to go back for the data that we do have. And most of it's simply probably going to look at mostly at TiVo's Miro board and also the YouTube channel, and possibly some filters on our Twitter, because you can filter Twitter to see just what happened when. And then just to record that in the GitBook. So it's not going to be a complete record. It's just going to be a record of what happened when, and possibly also who attended. But I haven't started that, and so it needs to be started. But the reason I'm going to take that minimal approach is just to get some structure in there, so that we can then refer back to it to expand out more content if we can come across that. If there's any comments on that.
I saw an action item, get read AI access. I think I gave that to Andre last month.
Yeah,
Yes.
I need, all right. Yeah, you did it to Andre. I need access as well, TiVo, but maybe we can do that async.
But I think you also already have, because you
no,
have the...
No, I don't anymore, because I think it's been, reset or something, and I can't access it anymore. So yeah.
But you have the authenticator code. We haven't changed that.
Well, no, and I tried the authenticator code and it didn't work. So yeah. I tried it with you, Andre, didn't I? I mean, maybe I was. I mean, but
okay. This means then we need to do it for all the ambassadors. Change all the codes again, and everybody has to go through the 2FA.
No, because, I mean, maybe
if you say that this doesn't work, this means it doesn't work for anybody anymore.
Well, I need to check that again because I was doing it through a phone, so it might be a typo. So I need to. So the way to access it is to log in to Read AI, and then that will prompt you for an authentication code. Yeah.
Yes.
An authentication code. You're going to need to. You pasted it in a private channel to me, didn't you, Andre?
Yes, but if you have the Google Authenticator already, then you just use that code.
No, but I didn't have the. I was trying to make a Google Authenticator entry. That's what I was trying to do. Yeah, and so I was using the code to create that. Yeah.
Yep. If you look at your pinned message, I actually pinned that for you. But maybe I didn't pin the link. How do you download the authenticator? But it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about where we're doing this on a public recording. So if we can just take it, if we can just DM me, Tivo, and we can set it up or iron out any problems. But yeah, I can set it up as long as it's probably me just putting a typo in. But yeah, the reason why we're having this conversation about this issue for the sake of this recording is so that Read AI could then be used to assist with the archiving of the backlog. So the way we would do that, although we're thinking of doing that, in the first run, I would just go and do what I've just said here, which is basically to audit what meetings took place, most, as I said, using your Miro board and other sources. And then the second thing to do would be to say, okay, what out of these would we like to archive? And I suppose the obvious candidate would be the weekly town halls, for example. That would be the most informative potentially. So I'd go back historically to the first town halls, run those recordings through Read AI in order to see what kind of summary they gave of those meetings. And I know that those summaries are going to be mixed in quality. I don't know how people's experience has. What's your experience been, Tivo, or anyone else on this?
The first one took a bit of a while. I think I spent at least 30 minutes or so just to kind of transform the template for myself.
Yeah.
But now I don't know, I just use it now. I guess the feedback comes later from others if it's because I kind of changed it.
It's interesting. I mean, Peter, have you used Read AI for summaries and anything else?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the templates you created in
No,
workshop.
No, I'm talking
the
about
Read AI stuff I don't use anymore at all. Actually, this application stopped working with me for a few months ago. Then at some point it started working again, but yeah, I'm not really paying attention to much what's happening in Read AI.
Okay. Well, no, I'm not talking about the meeting templates. That's a separate thing. So the meeting templates are something that may be implemented going forward. The Read AI is the tool that we pay for in the ambassadors program for our AI interpretation and transcript interpretation of our meetings. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is use that tool, and people are using it, aren't they?
Well, that's why I brought up the potential item for later on. Like, I think we could use it way more. We're not structurally every meeting using it. And if we want to use it as a tool, well, to archive transcripts.
Disagree really strongly. AI tools for summaries are not good. They're not effective. They give false information. They're fine if you want a transcript that you can maybe search and then maybe interpret. But AI doesn't have the intelligence to be able to give a proper summary, and it gives a fault. Where the recordings are useful, the actual video recording is when something is said about something that happened in a meeting, and it's people want to check whether it did happen or was said or was decided. Then you can look back, and to an extent, timestamping can help you there. But summaries, absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm not specifically aiming for summaries. I would be aiming for the transcript mostly, just to have everything on record that's being said.
Absolutely. The intention is to try and, with the tool that Andre's working on, the intention is to use the AI generated summaries, with the proviso that we know they will be garbled to an extent, but at least they give a rough timestamp of where you can find a certain issue.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, I probably didn't make that clear. Because we have, as you said, Peter, we've had, and Vanessa, we have had some experience of using Read AI, and the most use it does provide data. Sometimes it will often provide who attended, or because I think it references the may provide who attended, and will provide a transcript as well, and potentially that transcript may have timestamps in it. Is that right, Vanessa?
Yeah, as far as I know, it does timestamp as well.
Yeah, so.
But this is about how the back end of the tool that Andre's building kind of works with keywords, so that you can then find the topic that you're looking for and get a rough idea of where it was discussed, and then maybe go to the video.
Yeah.
So they all kind of interlink. Yeah.
Well, thinking of it logically, I mean, we actually are talking on this backlog issue, so it is relevant to this. But think of it logically, I suppose the reason for me to feed through historical videos through the Read AI is, first of all, to create a record in Read AI of that, so that then if Andre, you're using an API, you have source material that you can use historically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's that. Then we can see, hopefully maybe get some data from it, like, for example, who attended what meeting, and transcript. Summaries vary. They can't, I mean, I agree. Sometimes they work really well. Sometimes they work really badly. Mostly they work really badly. So that's a bit of a mixed bag. So, but we're still can use, I'm still intending to use Read AI. In answer to your question, Peter, I'm still going to use Read AI for the backlog, but for those reasons.
I mean, if you've got a transcript and a good search tool, then you don't need a summary, really.
Yeah, but I think I think the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? So I'm going to sort of like see it and see how it works.
Are you planning to, and is it even possible to get the videos and the transcripts out of Read AI and into the archive? Or is it going to be a link that obviously not everybody can access, because not everybody...
What I was intending was to, the kind of workflow I was thinking of was to upload the video into Read AI, or however that works. I think it's like that. And then Read AI will process it and then produce a transcript. And I was just in the first instance just going to attach the transcript to the archive record. Is that useful, or?
That sounds good to me, but I don't know. What does everybody else think?
I can build look, I have access to Read AI, so I can build something that looks at the data from Read AI and then looks at the data we captured. So I think it will be useful if we use Read AI, because like I said, the attendees are quite useful. If someone forgets to add attendees, then at least we have Read AI might have those lists, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, those features, that's
yes,
yeah. So I suppose there's that bit more downstream, Andre. So first of all, because you're still going to have to do sort of play around with the API first of all, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we start capturing, that would be great. But also, like Vanessa said, we're not going to have, the tool is not going to really use the transcripts, but I think having that data is useful.
I mean, having it, yes, and also making it available to people who want to search it, because to me,
Okay.
the transcript it might be garbled, but it does give, as Peter says, a lot of data. And if people can access it,
Absolutely, yeah.
right.
So the priorities then are to start capturing past videos in Read AI. I mean, so I go back to I suppose it's our SingularityNET YouTube channel. Is that right, Peter? Most of the videos are on.
It would be the SingularityNet Ambassador program, YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, that in itself brings up unrelated, but the first 21 town halls are still on the YouTube of SingularityNet. And at some point it became too flooding. Basically, it was just town hall meeting.
I'm glad you clarified that, because I was looking at it, I got a bit confused about where things are supposed to be. Okay, so
I'm not sure if that's an archive issue though. It's mostly
no. I'll create a note here because it's going to be helpful when I do the task. So what I'll do, I'll go back to the beginning, Peter, and then run through each one. I'll just it won't. I can get a workflow where I can just upload the video and then just let that do in the background. And all I'm going to do, the only reason to do that, as you're saying, Andre, is to create a record of it on Read AI so we can use it later on for data extraction. Yeah, and in the short term, I can just process it and just upload the transcript, Vanessa.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Andre and we have talked about the idea in the long run, because of, I think, privacy and confidentiality issues, which, I'm not sure what I think about this, but we talked about the idea of the meeting transcript eventually being accessible to whatever LLM is searching the archive, but it's not necessarily something that people can directly see. But I don't know anymore. I don't know what you reckon, Andre, but I'm not sure if I think that's
Aren't
necessary
they
anymore.
public meetings? But is that not
I
the
mean,
issue?
they are, but it's just, any archivist knows that it's not just about permissions and legality, it's about how people feel.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that from people on what do you think, Peter? I mean, they are public, but are there sensitivities we want to address?
I would say by default, as a standard, most work groups should record their work group meetings. And then it's like a given fact that it is simply being recorded. And then if for some reason there's, I don't know, something gets spilled, which shouldn't be included, will be the way about it.
See, this is the thing, we can ask people to record, but then it's about how we use that recording. I'm going to suggest, can we take this when we get to meeting summary templates?
Yeah.
Because I think it kind of ties in going forward. But for the backlog,
Yeah,
I guess, yeah.
it's not such a pressing issue with the backlog because I'm not going to start interpreting the data immediately. I'm just building it up. So can you hold that thought in your mind for the meeting templates issue, and we can
Doing it now.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Okay, good. Yeah, and we can come back to that. Okay, so this turned out to be quite an interesting discussion on the backlog, even though I haven't done any work. It's very helpful getting people's input on this. I'll contact you, Thibaut, to resolve the access to Read AI, and I'll start work on the backlog as we discussed. So moving on to the next item, which is this is an item in progress. It's the archive workgroup budget for Q3. I suppose
That's Q4 there.
Q4, sorry. So yeah, so that'll be, I mean, this won't have a cost associated with it, but the issue will be taking out of the cost for December at the end of the year. And really this issue is just to record what progress we've made on budgets. But really what we do now is that we just submit a CSV export to TiVo every month. Is that how you want to do it, TiVo? Vanessa, you have your hand up as well. So I've gone, TiVo.
it's okay. But again, like I said, that was like 2 weeks ago. That it's around 1 month before I start to integrate CSV files or CSV files.
Right.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure. For the next 2 months, I will use the fund request. But you can, yeah. I wonder. Because it doesn't, it's not
Right.
that big of a deal. Maybe you can export the file and include it in the fund request in dwork.
Yeah, I can do that on a monthly basis quite easily as well. So I could do something like this where I now have created a milestone view here. So you can go, let's take, for example, September. So September, that shows you, I mean, there's still something open there in that cost when that's closed. But it doesn't matter if it's closed anymore because that can still be costed in September. And then I just simply go to here and, well, to go to here, sorry, and then export that view. It should be a CSV view of this data. Is that sufficient?
Yep.
Yeah. It also includes links to the issues themselves. So you could audit it that way. Okay. So, yeah. So you still want us to do fund requests?
Or this few times, because the others will be looking at that. For me, it's just a way to hand over data. Because if you send it to me directly, then what I do is I create the bounty myself, because if I don't have a system in place, I still need to use the old way of recognizing the contribution. If you do the fund request, then at least everything is going the same way as it goes right now, but it already includes the information what could be automated, so that I have like a back trail of that. If I need to test, and like when I implement, I can use a previous month as case study and see if is the output exactly the same as or better compared to what was done.
Okay. I haven't done one for September. I mean, because it's again related to Peter's your question, because the reason why I didn't do one was because I thought you wanted to replace with a CSV file. I can then just do one for September, yeah, and October. Just to be clear. And then instead of what I used to do, I used to attach a reference to the project board. Which obviously wasn't ideal because it wasn't very transparent in terms of data. But what I can do now is attach a CSV file, okay, which will show you the full detail, or anyone, the full detail, yeah? And I'll do that for September, October, yeah?
Yeah. And once we have new system in place, then instead of handing it to me, there probably will be a specific folder in Ambassadors Google Drive where to put them. So even the handoff will be automatic.
Okay, so I'll put that as an action. So I need to submit fund requests for I'll do that as soon as possible after this meeting. And October. I mean, we'll get there in the end. So I suppose there's some confusion of that, but that's what I'll do for that. Any other comments on this quarter's budget? Vanessa, you had your hand up, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I mean, we're calling it quarter four, but ultimately it looks as if most of quarter four is going to be done in the same way as quarter three via fund requests.
Yeah.
But I think everybody probably, and maybe this belongs in a treasury meeting rather than this one, but I'm just flagging it up. I think all work groups now should be looking at projections for what they think they're going to spend.
Right.
And it can't be based on what you've done before, because the scope of what a work group does might need to change. I mean, certainly I think ours will, because we've said we want to move a bit towards trying to include more bounties to engage the community with the archives, so on and so forth. But I think everybody should be trying to think about future projections, but I think we definitely should. So maybe that's something for the next meeting. The other thing I wanted to ask was a Q3 review meeting, I think it was the second one, suggested that work groups need to submit stuff in AGIX. Was that a decision? Or I mean, it was minuted as a decision, but I don't think it is one. Is that right?
Is that Tiva or Peter can answer that?
I mean, it was your.
To me, it felt like everybody in the call agreed. Yes, let's move to AGX, whatever.
Okay, so does that mean that going forward now we need to submit our funding requests in AGIX until any new system comes in, or is this only when a new system? Because we're halfway through Q4 now, nearly. Well, we're not halfway through. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. We're near the end of October and we still haven't got a new system in place.
You can still put fund requests in USD because they will be converted to AGX. But I guess what's there was the point that when you do projections based on AGX because we have budget in AGX.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So I think then, and again, this is probably a treasury question, but I'm not up to date with what the latest is on whether every work group is going to have the same budget or whether we're going to look at the work that each work group is doing and try to come to some sort of consensus about what each work group's budget should be, and it might be different for each work group. Is that true? Is that a fair assessment? Because if there is a set figure, then there's no point us wasting our time doing projections because it will be set for us. But if it is going to be based on the work that each group plans to do, then I think this work group should look in our next meeting at trying to come up with a projection of what we will spend in total in Q4.
I mean, just before we discuss that, I will say that now I've added this new system, it is possible for us to do projections already. Because we can, if you look at the milestones here, I've got it to the end of the year, so we can see potential. And I can also extend that another quarter, so we can estimate how much we can already, in principle, estimate how much we would like to cost in the next quarter or the next month.
How is that accounting for new work that isn't based on what we've already?
No, apart from that, it doesn't account for new work. But the thing is, it's relevant. It's sensitive to the issue that you just raised, Vanessa, which was how are budgets being apportioned? And I don't know the answer to that because I'm not. Is that still in discussion, Tivo and Peter? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is very much, and I do expect at the next meeting, so in 2 weeks from now, for archive work group, that should be clear. That's a bit of a finger cross situation at the same time because we do bump into delays and clarities and stuff like that. But yeah,
There'll be clarity on work group share in 2 weeks. I mean, whatever happens, I suppose we're flexible enough to meet that. So I suppose, as you say, Vanessa, what we'd appreciate is some clarity for a quarter is the aim to apportion amounts for a quarter, Peter?
yeah, broadly speaking, yes. And
But then, sorry, that was rude.
So yes, okay, because that would be helpful because then we can
see what I'm saying. We've got the cart before the horse. Do we not need to come up with an idea of what we think we'll need to do the work we want to do and take that to Treasury and go, look, this is our rough guess. How does that fit with everybody else's? Because we've got a total budget for the ambassador program. And it seems to me that work groups need to come up with an idea of what they think they'll need this quarter. And then we might have to do a bit of juggling and sort of go, well, look, you're requesting more than there is, so you'll have to cut your work down. Is that not a more sensible way to do it rather than making projections based on what people did in the previous quarter, which might not be relevant. You know, some of the work groups that were being paid don't even exist anymore. So it just seems backwards.
Well, those would clearly get excluded from the projections, but
No, but you know what I mean.
yeah, I do. And yes, in theory, well, the assumption there is that there would be no super huge changes, and sure, making like more bounties. Well, that's only great, and we should support that, of course. I kind of feel like looking at how long it's taken to get where we are now.
Yeah.
It would push it another month almost to get these projections going.
Right. So it could be like, yeah, it's like a learning exercise as well, though, isn't it? So, I mean,
it feels like it wouldn't hurt us as the archives work group to be kind of ready. So maybe outside of a meeting, we could just have an async chat about what we see as being different from.
We are well placed to do that,
yeah,
as well. I can see your point, Peter, that if the costs that have been requested in the previous quarter per work group are reasonably consistent, and you take out things that work groups that no longer exist and all that kind of thing, given all the discussions and everything, it's probably easier just to go with that, because as you say, there'll be a big delay if we then requested work groups to future projections at the beginning for each quarter. Yeah, Peter?
Yeah, I could see the projection approach make a lot of sense for, well, I guess then the quarter after that. I mean,
yeah, I suppose the simple process would be, and I don't know what you think of this, Thibaut, as well, is that you would ask work groups would have an understanding that they were funded quarterly. Okay, that's one issue. I suppose you could look at that different ways as well. Then because of that, they would have to plan for the quarter ahead. So, and I think that would be a reasonable expectation, so for example,
could tie in with with quarterly reporting.
Yeah. So we would have to start planning for, well, we're in quarter 4 already. So we'd have to start planning for quarter 1, 2024. Yeah. And at the end of this quarter, we would submit a budget request in December for the next quarter. Is that what you're thinking, Vanessa?
For next quarter, my hope is that every work group will have a proposal in place, and those who are using rewards, they will have also budget projections written in that proposal. That is minimum requirements.
That is what Treasury Guild is going to discuss then, Thibaut. Yeah.
No, that basically came from the process guide, but yeah. For this quarter, it's just, I don't know, it's low. Somebody has to create a proposal, but I don't have time for this at current week, and may not have also for the second one.
Yeah,
but what I would say that all these dashboards, they are actually projections by default if they don't want to override. So I would say this is not the wrong way to look at it, because there is a lot of grassroots written information what people are doing and what would the costs be if there are no limitations.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying, Thibaut, is that I don't think it is a projection if you look at because it then really militates against work groups growing and developing and changing in response to what's happening, because basically their projection is based on what they've done in the quarter before. All that information is really valuable and useful, but things should be able to change, and a projection for quarter 4 probably ideally shouldn't just be based on what you did in quarter 3. Otherwise you can't grow. Do you see what I mean?
I think there's also accountability issues here and budget responsibility issues.
Yeah.
For example,
What I was just going to add just really quickly is that maybe it also is related to what what a work group said they were going to do when they set up. You know, if they then grow and change and develop in a valid way to do something really interesting and different from what they said, I think maybe the community still has to kind of sign that off and go, all right, you were set up to do this and now you're doing something completely different. You know, do you need to recreate your work group or resubmit it or something? I don't know. I don't think it should just be something that people can just do offhand.
Essentially, this is our feedback, Vanessa, because the remit for this is Treasury Guild, Tivo. Yeah.
What?
How you intend well, I presume the budget process is the remit of Treasury Guild, yeah? So who decides how budget's apportioned, whether we do future projections based on past evidence or as a kind of proposal is the remit of the Treasury Guild, yeah?
I feel like Treasury Guild is just an advisory place where people do come together. Right now, all the decisions are made by ambassadors to majority.
Right, okay. But yeah, I mean, well, I suppose if we just say our view is in a decentralized environment, particularly, and with the principle of autonomy accepted, that work groups are responsible as entities. That would be my view. There may be another view where you see a kind of ambassador group, which is deciding on budgets. Is that the status quo, Peter? The ambassadors decide budgets.
Well, trying to find consent to what makes sense is yeah, practically how it works to deciding. I mean,
yeah.
Just make a small note. Like, I fully want to be supportive of work groups growing in their output. However, the way our budget currently works, by definition, this will have to come from other work groups because our budget doesn't grow. That's
I get that, but I sort of think maybe it works out in the end because, you know, there's limited capacity amongst the ambassadors that we've got. So I have the sense that if one work group starts to expand, another work group will probably contract. That's kind of, you know, because there's only 12 people or so. Do you know what I mean? It kind of will balance out. But that's why I'm thinking that there needs to be that kind of, you know, these quarterly review sessions should be about, okay, how did the last quarter go? Dust that, put it away. What are people's projections? And does it all fit into the overall budget? And if not, what adjustments can we make? That feels like what we should be doing between us all.
No, I agree with well, not the first part, actually. Like, I don't think archival work group creating bounties for tagging data or timestamping, yada yada, archiving stuff, that will not create less demand for videos or people that are writing articles. Yeah, they won't be less incentivized to or less willing to write articles. So I don't think it's like one-on-one pulling attention from other spaces.
Okay, thanks for everyone's discussion on this, but we have to move on a bit. No, it was really useful to have this discussion, but I will just say, I think the spirit of our work group is that we see this as an experimental work in progress. So I suppose the point we're making also, we are flexible. We are in a position to be very flexible because we have quite a tight system. So we can work to how things change, and things are changing because we are, and by we, I mean the whole ambassadors program are experimenting with this. But thanks to those comments and clarifications, and we'll revisit this no doubt in another 2 weeks. But in the interim, as you say, the main action item from this is that we will submit fund requests on a monthly basis until October, well, for September and October anyway. So moving on to to the issue of bounties, which is some crossover there. Where are we on this? There was discussion last time about how bounties could be implemented to incentivize the completion of templates. Is that right, Vanessa?
Yeah, that's right. We have chatted about different bounties that we could do, and one of the ones I want to talk about today is the one that we tentatively said we could do for people testing the meeting templates. I've had a few, when we get to there, you'll see I've had a few meetings with people, and I'm just wondering, can we go ahead with that as a bounty? I think we said $50 as a total for the process of I share the template with them, they pick one, they customize it, they try it out for a few weeks, and then they give us feedback. I think that's fair. You know, it's 50. And I guess it goes to the work group lead and they decide who to distribute it to.
That action onto the meeting template issue.
I think it was, yeah, but it should also be something we discuss because under bounties, because
let me just get
up. If we're good with it, if we're definitely agreed with it. I haven't promised anything, but I have said, yeah, we probably will.
But this does make me wonder. So this bounty is, just for clarity, is mostly about the process of getting the workgroup leads to figure out the way that works for them and well, using the template, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be on well, ongoing every time somebody.
Oh no, it's a one-off. It's just for clarifying the process and then deciding. No, definitely not.
It should be just a hard requirement if you're a workgroup lead, or well, the workgroup meeting should provide meeting summaries. End of story.
Well, that's it. We raised this in the last meeting. Should it be a requirement? And I don't think we came to a definite decision. But do we require it? Is that?
Well, not really. And maybe it's
no, should be is what I meant.
I
personally feel it should be, but yeah.
Okay.
Kind of relevant to fiscal responsibility a little bit as well, Peter, because like, you know, like if work groups are requesting budgets, you know, and what record is there of what activity they've done, if not through a meeting summary?
Exactly.
Good point. And also we're trying to use the templating, you know, the template reporting procedure to kind of improve decision making, aren't we? You know, the idea that eventually when the tool that Andre is building is fully operational, which is based on the templates, then people will extrapolate their action items into their agenda for their next meeting and things won't get lost. So I think that's another good reason to kind of require it.
Right, okay, just trying to... So the bounties issue is relevant to notes that you've been making in the template issue.
Yeah, maybe we should stick to do we want to take the templates issue first, or do we want to just stick to talking about bounties here?
What is the main decision item about bounties? It's web. You mentioned it there, Vanessa.
Yeah, the main thing we need a decision on is whether we can go ahead and make that $50 bounty to work groups who are using the templates. Because we did kind of agree it last time, but we haven't said, yes, we're going to do it. We haven't said when we're going to do it. We haven't said who's going to do it. So, yeah.
$50 is that?
It's $50 as a one-off for that whole process of customizing a template, using it for a few weeks, and then giving feedback on how it worked. And then we can make any other tweaks that we feel are needed to the template if it's not giving enough information.
And is that per work group or for all work groups?
Well, per work group, obviously.
Yeah, okay. So per work group.
There's overlap, right? I mean, when you're doing a session with, for example, Tefo,
well, no, that's the other thing I was going to raise. I mean, Tiva, you're doing so much work on this, and you're trying out. You're already using the templates in 3 meetings.
Haven't used in Treasury Grid yet. It's tomorrow.
Once again, about unpaid work and everything. You are kind of already using templates then, Tiva.
Yes.
No, we had a meeting, so that one of the templates is heavily based on what TiVo normally does. So we're just actually using the template now.
Yeah, okay.
I think the first one was like DWork PBL on Wednesday the 11th.
Ah, didn't know that. Gosh, I'm so behind. So the first use of that's the archive template. Is that right?
That's the full archival, yeah. Yeah.
Of the full archival template. This does cross over with the other issue. Was on what meeting was it? Did you say?
It was a DWork PBL meeting on the 11th of October.
Okay, and that's kind of so that's just precedent being set there a little bit. But really, the £50 bounty decision relates to a new work group doing that. We want to incentivize a work group who
Oh
hasn't
no, I
done.
don't think so. I think Tivo should get it as well because he's testing it. He'll be giving us feedback. It's
Maybe make it per work group lead, else I'm gonna get like 150.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, we could do. If you're happy with that, Tivo, we could do that. I mean, onboarding is going to be trialing it as of next meeting, and one of the group members is going to be doing the actual documenting because it would be bloody stupid if it was me because, do you know what I mean? I can't give myself valid feedback. So, you know, it's the onboarding group. So we're onboarding new people to do it, which is kind of, it all ties in beautifully. But
okay, so for the sake of this, we are deciding to do this. The first
Yeah.
person who's done it, well, it's in progress, I know, is Tivo. Okay, and that will be.
I think actually Kenichi might be the first one who actually did it, but he hasn't given me the summaries yet.
Okay, so we have Kenichi as well. I'll just take these as rough
But this,
notes.
I don't
Go
know
on.
if these notes should be in here or if they should be in the relevant issue. I think all we need to agree is, are we doing this as a bounty? Who's going to set it up? How are we going to set it up? I guess it needs to be assigned directly to the workgroup leads. The details of who's doing meeting summaries belongs in the meeting summaries issue.
Yeah, I'm just taking it here so I don't have to remember it. So I'll
Okay.
copy it.
Fair enough.
To Kenichi for
Okay.
Yeah, it's because I can't remember too many things in my head. So yeah, the main thing, I'll copy and paste these details in the other issue. The main thing is this issue here. So we agree.
Yeah, but it's also like, as of when do we pay it? Do we pay it when we've got feedback? I think that might be the best way. And how do we set it up? How do we create it and assign it to, are we assigning it to work group leads and then they redistribute it as appropriate?
Right. People think
I'm just noting this in the chat where Peter says 50 is a bit much for you template. I disagree because they're not just using a template. They're working with me to customize the template. Then they are using it for like 4 weeks and then they are giving feedback and helping us tweak the template so that they've got it as they need it. It's, it's like a user testing process. And I don't think it's that much money.
No, I can agree with that. So basically that's the process outlined above, right? On the issue on screen.
Yeah. This one here. Well,
maybe it would make sense for clarity to, once the bounties do get put on DWork and indeed directly assigned to work group leads, to also include this outline for people wondering.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, just for like transparency, I guess, overview.
Yeah, and I'd feel happier if it was paid once we get feedback, because if somebody kind of goes, oh yeah, I'm really keen to do it, and then they just don't get around to it, then
Create one DWork task and assign it to work group leads and ask them to submit feedback, and this way you can distribute the rewards.
Would it be easier though to have a separate DWork task for each workgroup lead, because they'll be using different templates and it just might be a bit confusing if we've got feedback for all 3 of the templates in the one DWork task?
Yeah, it would be.
Don't really see an issue because they each submit separately. They can then the feedback. I use template too.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose.
Then another question is, would these bounties come from archive workgroup or from the?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
intention.
I was assuming they would. Yeah.
So I mean, I was going to because this isn't costed yet, Vanessa. So we already have a kind of commitment there of $100. You know, if you give $50 to Kenichi, $50 to TiVo. So what we're looking at?
There's another 52 onboarding. I'm still waiting for Tommy and Fly to get back to me.
Rough notes, by the way. So and then potentially Fly, you said. Yeah.
Well, Fly, Tommy, and Slate's going to do it for the Gamers Guild as well.
Ooh, I would object to that personally.
Oh, okay.
I don't mind. Like, I'm nothing personal against Slate, don't get me wrong. But seeing they're in their trial phase of becoming a work group, I don't think they should do it already.
Yeah. Okay, because I asked him, are you still in trial phase or are you up and running? And he kind of said they were up and running, so maybe I just got the wrong end of the stick there. But he is right in summaries, and just because it's a really different kind of activity, I just think it'd be really cool to trial it with them as well, because
I mean,
what I got from their one session they did so far was we went ahead and played the game.
Right.
Like, I'm not sure how that's going to pass any trial. Like, we don't have a proper set up trial procedure.
If you play the game well, Peter.
Well, no, because they do have decisions and action items about what they're going to play next and how they're going to reward people and what the leaderboard's going to look like. So in the end, this is more for the archival process of seeing how templated meeting summaries actually work for different kinds of meetings. So I kind of feel this is quite useful because it's an unusual kind of meeting. And
I mean, you've already mentioned it to Slate, haven't you? So
yeah, we've already.
I suppose, Peter, we could carry the cost of that.
It's not so much about that. Like, yeah, no, I mean, it's not a big. I'm not vetoing anything. Or
I know. It's just people's expectations. If you're told already spoken,
I agree with that. It's just Well, in a way, it's my own fault for not having a proper trial process for when a new work group gets ideated and potentially started and trialed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's a separate issue.
Maybe I just need to talk to Slate and say, look, doing this process, this is something to give information for the archiving work group. It doesn't mean that it makes you like formally a work group just because you've done it.
Yeah,
is that the worry? Is that the concern that it might? Oh, I don't know. I don't want to use the word legitimize, but it might give him the impression that the work group is now a thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they do have decent meeting notes of that one session they had. It's just highlights and action items and attendance. So it's quite decent, I would say.
Yeah. I think in that spirit, I mean, that's how we would frame it, Peter, is, you know, this is, you know, I've put the note there, is that it's not an assessment of any work group's viability. It's not saying anything about the work group. It's just getting work groups that do exist to participate in this exercise. Yeah. Okay. And that's it, you know. Okay. So so this starts to give us an idea of the cost of this issue. Yeah. So
if you have a look in the actual meeting templates issue, I've got a fuller list of exactly who is on my list to approach.
Yeah, it's actually linked it here. So
okay. I think that misses somebody off. I'm not sure.
Yeah, let me just have a look. Okay, I'll copy a link to the actual comment.
Okay, so there we go. Kenichi, TiVo, Tommy, Yeah, I don't know about Felix with the governance work group. I don't know if he sees him, if the governance work group, it hasn't been sending summaries, so I don't know.
Right.
What?
Fran.
Oh, and we need to, I don't think we need to pay ourselves, but we do need to have that conversation about this group. And I was thinking of Cran as Education Guild. I think,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't. What was I thinking of?
The Cran,
Tommy is running that.
Yeah, I know. But he
okay.
does run something. Anyway,
Well, Cran is kind of stepped back pretty much. He was in AI Sandbox at first, but he's now mostly on Deep Funding Tunnel team.
Right.
okay. So, I mean, the same question then arises with Fly and to an extent Tommy as arises with TiVo. So we're paying per work group lead. And if you're running more than one work group, then it's just going to be more work for you. Is that fair? Is that what we're saying?
There could be about, I mean, let's go back to where we were and come back to that, because I just want to try and get an idea of the costs here. So roughly $400 I see there. Yeah, Vanessa?
Seems fair.
Yeah, looks like it, yeah.
I mean, maybe, yeah.
As long as we're agreed that we're paying per work group lead, and if a work group lead runs more than one work group, then they have to do more work for their money.
Okay, so that's that decision, and then we can move on to, maybe we now close this issue and then move on. We could jump to the meeting notes, if you like, so it's still an hour fresh in our head. The other issue.
Because all I'm saying is that payment model doesn't seem very fair to me. Maybe we should, so we don't end up asking for too much, maybe we should cut down the amount that we pay to somebody who's just running one work group. But I don't know.
What do people think about that? Do you think it should be proportional to the work done?
No, it's because the template, using it the first time and getting custom it is like one-time thing. And if you do it for the second work group, I had 0 issues with it because I already adopted, like, understood it. The second thing is when you do a feedback, you do it aggregated feedback. You don't do spare work group. So it's, again, doesn't add stuff.
But that is true because you're using the same template for all your meetings. Not everybody will be.
Are you saying that there are work group leads that use different styles of meeting summaries? Because I have noticed that.
Yeah. If you do you have them available? Or are they linked here actually? I was just trying to find.
And I also would say that.
Here they are. Here they are, TiVo. This is actually good for the purposes of the meeting. Okay, so yes, there are 3 standard approaches. So there's the full archival, which you're using.
Yeah, I understand that, but like one person usually uses one type of template.
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't even spoken to Fly yet, so I don't want to take his name in vain. But I think looking at what he runs, there might be a need to use a different template for, like, AI Sandbox than there would be for incubation.
But so far he hasn't.
But he might, though, TiVo. That's part of the, isn't that part of the, how can I put it? So that part of their work, part of the different ways they may work. That's what I mean. Is that what he's trying to say, Vanessa, as well?
Yeah, because that's what we're trying to support, isn't it? And obviously people will also customize, even if they are using the same template, they might customize it differently.
Maybe just make the budget 400, and then if a work group has 2, work group lead has 2 work groups, then he gets 2 points, and then you divide the budget by points. Maybe.
Or what if we pay per template style? Like if you're doing 3 meetings with the same template style, it's 50 because you do them aggregated, as TiVo said. But if you're doing different ones, that would take it. That could potentially take it a bit over 400. But
so if you do like full archival, you get more than minimalist and narrative. Is that how it works?
I think this is, we're making it too complex than it should be. It's already rewarding more than average reward.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, TiVo. I mean, I think it's just, I think the $50 amount is just to incentivize a review process. Yeah. and then later on, you know, then it's about the expectation of, well, again, what Peter's point about what should the expectation be per work group for recording the work they do, you know, with or without a bounty payment.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole separate thing, isn't it? Doing it going forward.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking that I kind of increasingly am feeling that it should be something we expect from a work group lead. But how do we, you know, I think maybe I need to take this to incubation and just go, look, how do you all feel about this?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, well, I was kind of feeling seeing this as a bit like an onboarding to the idea issue. So you kind of you know, we get people doing it, incentivized through the bounty as a kind of review process. Okay, and then at the end of that's a way to get people to start doing it. But I suppose, yeah, maybe that's not going to work at all unless what you need is just a straight out commitment from incubation.
Yeah, maybe I have to take it there, and maybe we need to see whether people feel it should be an obligation for a work group lead to document, and under what circumstances people feel maybe it wouldn't be an obligation.
Well, shall I put that for you, Vanessa?
Yeah, go on then. Although if anybody else fancies coming to any such meeting,
it's kind of a bit of a broad issue, really. I mean, what do you think? Don't you want to address this as well, Peter, or do you want to kind of get more consent?
Broadly speaking, I would say if you're doing something that warrants rewards, you have to document it. If the meeting is just a casual get-together and it's just chilling and talking and no notes are taken, no actions are created, yeah, then also you're not required, from my side, personal opinion, to provide a summary. But if there's action items, yeah, there should be.
And the kind of meeting template initiative, well, it isn't just our initiative, it's also came from TiVo a little bit as well, helps with that, doesn't it?
Could you also add on that, on what we're taking to incubation, we could also add the question of should people be required to use Read AI, as we said before? And also, yeah, I take your point, Peter, about like if it's just a casual chat, there shouldn't be like an obligation to record it. But I think we should also be able to, if people want to, you know, that's kind of what the templating process is for, so that people can. Because an archive is meant to be a reflection of what this program does. And if some of it isn't, like decision-making meetings, that's part of our culture, that's part of who we are as a group. It'd be great if the archive could reflect that.
Yeah, I do agree. If it's stuff that's happening, then sure, archive it. But I was more approaching it from like, should we even incentivize those kind of sessions with tokens specifically?
Yeah, we're assuming that once this process with the templates is done, then people will have to, if they're going to carry on documenting, that will come out of their own budgets. Do you, off the top of your head, TiVo or Peter, do you know if any work groups don't budget for documentation?
I don't really know top of head. I think most do. There's some included in like having a meeting, and it's just a pile of all things connected to it, from preparation to archiving or reporting.
Because this ties in totally with another thing I was going to suggest in an incubation meeting, is a discussion of what do you mean by facilitation and what do you mean by documentation, because different work groups do it in different, you know, to a different level. And it'd just be really, do you know, like when you look at the cost projections and you go, oh, look, they're charging loads for meeting facilitation. And that can be because they include making a video and some clips and sharing it and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's part of this discussion, I think.
Yeah, very true. it does make me wonder. I mean, theoretically, incubation, sure, is the place for that. However, sometimes it's also a session where 4 people are, which not always necessarily. Well, I guess with proper communication about the agenda, we could entice more people to hop on.
Again, I suppose it relates to. It's a challenge in any decentralized environment is to establish who's making decisions about what. So.
What about if it was like incubation aims to discuss it and come up with a couple of questions that we want answers from all the workgroup leads, and then that could be done via other routes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would wish it like, I don't know, agree with fly on a session, a date, and then beforehand get an ideation document going. So some of the discussion or insights are already shared among the participants. And also that document in itself could entice people to, if they're interested in the topic.
Okay. Yeah, could do that.
Mm.
I mean, Fly's got this form that he wants people to use to suggest topics. But then the trouble with that is that you don't know when your suggested topic is going to be discussed. So, yeah, maybe it's a chat. I don't know.
Yeah, simplest is to just post it in the incubation channel, I guess. And then he can, I mean, maybe he's got some outline of a couple of sessions ahead already, or yeah, you need some syncing in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, so to we recap, we've had a discussion about how to apportion the bounty, which was some crossover between the previous issue, how to accommodate different meeting formats. But broadly, we seem to be some consensus that this is a kind of trial period and it will be $50 per work group, roughly. You're going to take a related issue of the requirement to use meeting templates and read AI to incubation, Vanessa, and that may discuss what options to go forward there. Yeah. And is there anything else we want to discuss on this?
Don't think so.
Okay, that's a no. Thanks for everyone's contribution. So that was good. I hopped forward a little bit there. This one can be closed quickly. Basically, as discussed, I've done this, and it was done in October, and for $50. But there was a lot of discussion and stuff there. You're okay with the format, Tivo?
Tivo posted in chat a couple of minutes ago, 3 minutes, that he's gonna AFK for a bit.
Okay. I think he was okay with it anyway, so I'll close that issue. That's neat. We're now fully set up to export through CSV through various views, so that's kind of resolved. Governance GitBook. Okay.
I think I'm just going to have to hold my hands up and say I haven't done.
Yeah.
And we could just.
I can't see who's here actually. Who is it? Felix isn't here, is he? So,
no. But I think honestly we had that really great conversation last time, and I need to relook over that. And
yeah, I did timestamp it so for the last meeting, so you can sort of like just jump to that. There was a good conversation at the last meeting about it, yeah, which is quite wide ranging. So I'll just leave it at that, and then we'll move on. Guidance notes we've just discussed. LNMs to create archival funding aids. The last discussion on this was, right, this is related to this is not costed according to ambassadors. This is potentially costed according to our proposal that we're putting in deep funding. Voting, is that closed now, voting? I'm not sure.
Yep, results should be in 2 days.
Hurrah! there you go. So that's it. We won't know until then. So it's effective or funded proposal.
I mean, I think maybe in the next meeting, if we don't get funded, and I'm feeling a bit despondent that we won't, maybe I'm wrong, but we need to think about how we're going to do that work anyway, and if it can shift towards bounties. If we could do that. This probably, yeah. I'm just looking if this should be in another issue, but no, it shouldn't. But yeah, we're going to need to do that tagging process somehow.
Okay. But for the moment, we just have to wait until what results we get. We're going to learn some lessons from that because maybe we're kind of new to the proposal process for deep funding. You know, maybe we didn't do everything we could have done. You know, so maybe do some review there a little bit as well. And then, as you say, Vanessa, consider how we will, because we do need to do it somehow.
Can you just minute what Peter's added in the chat?
Yeah, I can't. I have a problem copying from the chat. So can you paste it yourself?
I have the habit of not wanting to interrupt and then just typing it before I forget. But potentially for deep funding round 4, there's this is not set in stone yet, but there might be more community-based RFPs.
Okay. Options. There might be options in
I mean, right. Yeah, in itself, that's a bit of a like how to say. It's like if deep funding 3 doesn't work, try for deep run, try for the next round. Like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's all related to the broader issue of funding, and you know, how can you accommodate different community type services? I suppose it's all related to that as well. But we put a proposal in. Whether we put in a proposal in well, we need to address that ourselves as a work group, and for lessons learned to apply for funding again. As you say, Peter, there may be different funding options in the future. That remains to be seen. And then there's the pragmatic issue of how because we're going to probably need to do this before deep funding 4, wouldn't we, Vanessa?
I mean, I think it'd be better to, but maybe we don't have necessarily have to. Yeah.
Okay. So we really need to come back to that at our next meeting, and to, you know, so I'll put a note in there to reference what we need to do. Moving on to publicising archive workgroup meetings. There's no cost against this. Okay, so have we done 17th? Oh no, we didn't do an ambassadors breakout room on, did we?
No, we didn't. Sorry, I've had a lot on, and I
know. Should we just?
I still think it's something we should do, but it's just, yeah, it keeps falling off the end of my to-do list.
No.
For some reason, I thought it's next week.
Yeah, we can reschedule this. So, I mean, I know we're all very busy. So
I wonder even if it might be better when we've got some feedback about the templates, and we could talk about how they relate to the tool that Andre's building and what that's going to lead to.
Yeah, I think that would be better.
How about the 31st then? Is there something happening on the 31st of October for Town Hall, Peter, or is that clear?
Well, just noting, we never have breakout rooms for the town halls. So what we usually do have is after the workgroup updates, there's room for additional agenda items, and I guess theoretically, if you really want a breakout room, yeah, that would be possible, I guess.
I mean, I'm only saying breakout room because I just think not everybody would necessarily be interested, and maybe there should be an alternative for the second half of the meeting, but happy to do it in the whole meeting if you think it's a thing that would be worth doing.
It depends on, I mean, this is about basically explaining what the archive work group is doing, right?
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, so I mean, it needs to be some kind of, what were you thinking? Some kind of presentation or some kind of workshop, Vanessa?
Yeah, I mean, I can throw some slides together about what the interface that Andre's building is going to achieve and why that's good, and then have a chat about it, I guess.
I mean, yeah, maybe it's semantics about the breakout room because maybe it's just more straightforward to just say we make it part of the ambassador's town hall, as you say, after Peter's round table, sorry, status round.
Yeah, could do. I mean,
Yeah,
it really depends. If you feel like, well, we need a full hour, yeah, that's gonna be a bit hard. If it's gonna be 15 minutes,
I don't think it
Probably.
would be it would only be quite
Thinking
short.
I'm thinking maybe half an hour to give people time to comment and discuss. I'd like it to not just be a presentation. I'd like people to be able to have a chat about it.
Yeah, fair. I mean, that should be fine in itself as well. Yeah. Usually, what happens is the work group updates taking until 1/2 past the hour, and then there's 30-ish minutes remaining, generally speaking.
Okay, so okay, I mean, when's our next meeting?
Like just make it like a deep dive.
Is the 31st too soon, or should we go for November?
I don't know. I've said it's not too soon every meeting for the last
I
4
think I'll put in
meetings.
for the 7th because it'd be nice to have another work group meeting to think about this. But it feels like it's not quite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be
Are you
because
free then, Andre? Are you
Yes,
free?
yes. No, I also think it's better we you do this, finalize this templates with the
Yeah.
groups first.
that's why I'm thinking the 7th, Andre. So
Yeah.
which if you just so we'll update that. Okay, so that's in planning.
So one tiny remark there: as long as you don't publicize it to others beforehand, this is also flexible, right? From my side,
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly. So we would need to make a decision to publicize it. That's why I'm thinking of taking it to the 7th, Peter. So our next work group, I suggest that, well, between us now, we don't make that decision until our next meeting, so which should be the 1st of November. And then if we absolutely decide to do it, they say, yes, we're ready, because sorry, we're leaving your item to the last, Andre, but we want to present the tools that we're building and everything in one go. Yeah. So we could then say we're going to do that this week or next week. Sorry. Is that okay, Peter? So for example, on the 1st of November, we could say, yes, we're going to do this on the 7th of November.
Yeah, sure thing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. Okay. Safeguards against data loss in Discord. I was supposed to speak to Felix, I haven't. So do I still need to speak to Felix about this?
I don't know. Do you want to speak to Felix about this?
Yeah, I suppose I do.
I think it'd be useful to have it documented in the issue before you close it. But
Yeah, there's no cost against this. It's just an informational thing. What we want is what has Felix done? So I still need to talk to Felix. I haven't done that, so that's my bad. Oh, something in chat. Okay, so sorry for keeping you so long, Andre, but we've gone to tool development now. So no. So which is, I know you've done a lot of work. So do you want to do a screen share of what you've done, or
Do you still have that link I sent you?
can you put it in chat?
I can try. I can try and do a screen share. Let me get it.
Yeah, we should use, yeah, right, Vanessa, we should do tool development first. Sorry about that. I haven't got this. Yeah, we need to cost this as well at some point.
Okay, let me try. I'll drop the link in chat. Yeah, it's actually good. Then we can see if it works for you, Stephen. Because
Yeah, 'cause
remember
we
there
did
was
do
an
s-
issue.
we did do some prep for this. Okay, now for the uninitiated, which is only 2 people. This is hosted on some local instance server. Is that right? On Netlify.
It's on Netlify. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've gained access by logging in through a Discord using Discord ID. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what the sign out is. So what people would do, they would have to they would be given a link, and you would follow the link, and you would have to log in using your Discord ID. And there's a kind of a process which you take through it. Then once you've gone through that, you'll come to this screen. By the way, the aesthetics and the layout of this is all going to be tidied up as well. So you then select what workgroup you're going to do. So I'll select archive at the moment. And then you're given a choice of different meeting types. Yeah. The content of the meeting type of the meeting templates will be populated from the previous meeting. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you'll see there at the date it says previous meeting date. Okay, that's the date the last time this thing was saved. So if next week you visit this page, it's going to show this week's meeting. Whatever the last meeting was that was saved, it will show that.
Right. And the name is the what?
It's just a default value. I had to put something in for the database. So if you submit on the same day, it just makes changes to that row in the database. But if you have 2 meetings in the same day, then you can just write a different name there, like it's a workshop or
Right.
So
yeah,
but that's that's something that will happen. Maybe it's not something that's going to happen often. It just makes it weekly meeting by default. So every week you don't have to follow anything in there.
Okay.
I just put it there if you have a workshop.
So previous to our discussion, you've now added a pick list for resources. Is that right? Or yeah, you have. Okay.
Yes, so you can.
So you can choose. We need to obviously finalize the data for that for participants. Yeah.
Yeah, you can add new names if you want to as well.
Right.
So
you right. Okay. Okay.
You just click next. Yeah, if you start typing, just click next to the name, and then you start typing.
I'll think of a name now. Fly. Okay.
Yeah.
There you
go.
go.
You
Okay.
click on connect. Yes.
And then that adds. Well, maybe it needs to refresh. You need to
refresh, and it will be there.
Yeah. Once that's submitted, then that would add Fly to the list of names. Okay. Right. And then obviously you can take them out as well. So there you go. This follows the documentation agreed by Vanessa for the templates, doesn't it? So the purpose of the meeting, well, that's self-explanatory. A link to the video recording if there's any, a link to the Miro board if there's any other medium, and a link to the transcript. Are these external links, Andre?
Yeah, that's
Thinking of the transcript.
Like transcript link we might need to discuss. Oh, yeah. If they have different ones, but yeah, I don't know. We might need to have a discussion about that.
Just to bear in mind that rather than being a link, it may need to be an attachment. That's all. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. Then there's this format again will be tidied up. So this is just what you're seeing here. It's just the functionality, not the look and feel of it necessarily. That's right, isn't it, Andre? So
yeah. Still a lot of work there.
Yeah. So the way this works is that you would have each meeting, well, for the archival one at least, would have an agenda item. So you have agenda item 1, and then you'd have if you added another one, you would have another agenda item underneath, and so on. So this agenda item, for example, would be like update GitBook, for example. Then you have a status against that agenda item, whether it carries over, where it's continuous, in other words, or it's resolved. Then underneath here, this is not quite clear from the format, but you have actions underneath the agenda item. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, I need to make it more clear.
So
Andre, where are people actually adding a new agenda item? That's what I can't see.
You can just above
here.
text button, yeah. Sorry, I haven't done any.
Yeah, I see.
I haven't done any styling.
Yeah.
No, don't worry about that. I'm just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're still working on, or Andre's still working on the styling. So the agenda item is that right hidden down here, but we'll make it a lot clearer, or Andre will make it a lot clearer.
Yes.
Okay, so underneath each agenda item is an action or decision item, which you can add more than one. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. You can add action items.
And each action item, you can toggle whether it affects all work groups as a decision item, or affects only this work group. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the interesting aspect of this, actually, from just to take note, is that if we got a lot of work groups to use this, we could then export to a CSV file or something an audit trail of all the decisions that are being made in the ambassadors program, potentially.
We can even have a live page somewhere that shows like any major decisions being made. So
we wouldn't forget any decisions, and we would identify any potential duplicate decisions. And also, I suppose, I mean, obviously, we're still very much an experimental project, the ambassadors program, so that may take time to work out, but it could be a method of working out the scope of each work group, potentially. Do you think, Vanessa, Peter?
Yeah, I mean, one of the other things that was kind of behind the intention of this, because like I kind of worked on what should be in it with Andre, so I'm kind of familiar, but we were thinking that it'd be useful to see which work groups are making decisions that affect all work groups and where there are clashes and contradictions. And, that kind of, CSV output would be really useful to be able to see, oh, this work group has decided that everybody should do this, and that work group has decided everybody should do that. And I'm just thinking, in the long term, it'd be great if we could refine like how things are recorded so that that contradiction is immediately obvious when you look at the CSV file.
But in the first instance, it's like an experimental approach. So we're taking an iterative approach where we're capturing decisions as people input them, however messy that might be in the first iteration. Yeah. And then as we iterate, we'll see if there's been any duplication or it's very similar issues. Is that the idea? Silence on that one, but that's
yes, that's the idea. And contradictions.
I mean, I don't know what you think, Peter, of this in terms of scope.
I think it's awesome. Getting that auditing trail would be next level. I do see a upload meeting summaries button, and I kind of assume with the talk about the templates that a work group lead or facilitator, whoever does it, do they have to fill this in by hand, or is the uploading taking care of that?
Yeah, I mean, does that just take you to this view, Andre?
Yeah, like if they only have to fill, so if they fill this meeting in next week, most of the stuff will already be filled in because it carries over. So they will mark stuff as resolved or carry over. So by the next meeting, they will only have to fill in any new items. So they don't have to fill in everything again. So it's just the first step.
No, that makes sense. I'm just wondering, like, we're now pushing workgroup leads to use these 3 types of templates.
Yeah.
But that's the text file, presumably, right? Or well, just text.
No,
Oh
you
no,
would,
the templates are like a first step, so we can try the methodology and see if it works, but then it's translated into this interface.
Okay, that makes sense.
in the first instance, well, ideally, this will be this is an interface that's available to anyone with a Discord login. So
Yes.
what we would ideally do is, yes, in the first instance, Peter, people would have to, so if they would choose how they want to record their meetings, and there's the full archival template, which has all that detail. There's a very minimalist one, which has discussion points and tags and so on. And the narrative one, which is like kind of in between one. So they choose how they want to record their meetings, and then they have to fill them in. You're right, Peter, they have to fill them in manually. Any further information can be, like, for example, transcripts or other media is accommodated for here. This framework really is just meant to capture the agenda items and the decision and action items associated with each agenda item. Is that right, Andre?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's it. So as Andre's saying, once that's complete, I suppose there's the learning curve is getting used to it. Do you think that's going to be a barrier, Peter?
Well, a barrier, yes. I don't think it's too high of a barrier. Can't speak for every workgroup lead, I guess, but no, it would be doable. I mean, we would need to, ideally, it would be as easy as possible, right? I mean, yeah.
Yes.
And obviously there's interface issues with that. Like, this interface obviously needs to be improved a lot to make it a lot clearer.
Yeah. Well,
but
make it a lot more user-friendly, eh?
Yeah. But it is, even the full archival one, if this was tidied up a little bit, it will be a lot simpler, because all you're doing is putting in the date and who's attending, few links, and your agenda items. That's it.
If you click on the minimalist one, then you see it's like small. It's not big. It's a couple of things. And then
So
you can add more.
The minimalist ones, you could just add some, like, you can see, we just discussed this, and then
I will say that those who are using minimalist have made some suggestions and adaptations. I mean, in the end, the tool won't have the different styles of templates available to select. You'll just select from the drop down for your work group, because it will have been, that's part of the whole process that we're doing, won't it?
Yeah. I mean, is that part of the workflow, Andre? Let's just see. No, it isn't at the moment, is it?
I can make, it's, I hope there's not too, I can make it like that. No, because I'll just make a default template for each work group, and then I'll customize as it needs to be for each work group. I just made it like this for the development phase to quickly look through them.
Okay, so the workflow would be, we would have consent on how each work group is recording their meetings. Then they would just go to their work group. There would be a default template there, which would be pre-populated, or they'd have to fill it in first, the first time they do it, of course, but then once they go back to it, it would be pre-populated, and they would just change any status there. Is that how it's going to? Is that what's being discussed, Vanessa?
Not entirely. It's more about which template they see. We won't have on the left-hand side, minimalist narrative, blah, blah, blah. All we'll have is the drop down.
Yeah.
And there will be stuff that they will have to add each meeting. Some of it will be filled in for them because it's carried over or, but they will have to add the date and who's present, and they will have to add information about any discussion points that but yeah, I think the
Right.
fact that it's a field keeps it brief. And
Yeah.
if you just have a quick look at the narrative one, because this is where people tend to write reams, is this style.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah,
Narratives here. Yeah.
it kind of helps that they will eventually see it as, quite a short field. So maybe it
Would you
reduces.
discuss having a character limit on that? Didn't we,
We
Andre?
did. I mean, I think it's going to be quite a long character limit. So maybe we just see if the psychological fact of having a field keeps it down. I don't know.
What do you think, Andre?
Yeah, we can test it without the character limit and just see. I don't know.
Is there a way? Go on.
We did talk about having a little hover over above narrative
yes.
or list of issues,
Yes.
where it kind of gives them some guidance on keeping it brief and not filling it with filler. And I'm having trouble phrasing that and working how to keep that into a small pop-up. But sometimes people do write in a narrative style and it is quite, there's quite a lot of filler in it. So, yeah.
Is it too much to... Is it too prescriptive to say? Sorry, go on, Andre.
Do you think we should have a narrative text box and a list of issues so they can do both in one meeting or just one?
You see, I think with that was basically because I realized that onboarding work group was essentially doing narrative, but we were doing it differently because we were doing it as a list of issues. So that's kind of like an option of a way to do it. So I think that some people who like to write a story of what happened in the meeting, they won't adapt very well to making.
We want to accommodate that.
Yeah, I think we do, because it's a feature of some of the meetings.
Yeah, I suppose we're trying to be an archive that is part of our archival practice, isn't it?
Capture,
okay.
Yeah, provenance and original order, all that.
Do we want to give them the option to do both in one meeting summary, or should they just choose one?
I think if if you've got it like it is, it's titled narrative or list of issues, we could customize that for the individual work group. So, like, for instance, I think Education Guild tends to write a narrative, so it would just say narrative for them.
Okay.
And
so then they would stick with either narrative or list of issues.
Yeah, I think I think they choose either. The only thing we probably should do is just have a word limit, but I suppose it's as you say, Vanessa, we're probably gonna have to test, maybe just sample. Do some people write a lot then?
It's not so much about writing a lot. What it is that they're expanding the material more than it should be expanded, so it's laborious to read.
But
that's the thing. It's not about that it's very long, it's that it's longer than it needs to be.
I mean, it could be a learning exercise as well, because in these two, the narrative one, this is the narrative one, isn't it? And the full one, you're still capturing action and decision items, aren't you? So
I've actually come to the conclusion with the minimalist one that I think most people who are basically using minimalist will also add action and decision items, because we thought it through, and it's just like the whole point of it, part of the whole point of this is recording actions and decisions, so it needs to be there, doesn't it?
Unless is there a place for minimalists for informal discussions or something?
Maybe. I mean, maybe for a future work group there might be a reason for it as well, but I think what we've said is that it could be optional.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you make a field optional, Andre?
No, I'll add it there, so they can, if they want to add action or decision items, then they can add it.
Right.
I actually thought the same thing. I felt it was a bit weird that it didn't have those options.
Yeah.
So I very much
Yeah.
agree. Adding
I
it.
should probably like DM you some of the things that have come out of the discussions so far with work group leads and what, because there was something else that somebody, oh yeah, it was Slate with the what do you call it, Gamers Guild came up with a couple of good additions that would be specific to him.
And just to be clear on, it's not so clear on this because the layout, this one, there's a distinction between action items and decision items. So an action item obviously will be internal to the work group, yeah?
Oh, not entirely. The distinction is that an action item has somebody assigned to it and a due date, whereas a decision is just something that the group has decided to do.
So an action item could go outside the work
Or
group
not
as
do.
well. So,
You
so
know.
that, so you could, yeah. For example, we could have a meeting about archive mile, and we could assign something to, say, Felix or something. And
Yeah.
okay, yeah, no, it makes
There was
sense. Yeah, go on.
Remember, we actually spoke about this on Monday, where adding a status to the action item as well.
Right,
that
yeah,
was-
yeah. What was that? What was the status?
Just like if it's done or in progress. Just like a small little drop down next to the action items.
Would blocked be a status as well? Because would we need that to somehow? I'm thinking about.
Yeah, we have sort of maybe cancelled as well. So
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let me just make a note of that. So,
Because I'm just thinking that the decision-making process that I'd like to see in meetings that make decisions is if they have an action item that's come back for a second time and it's blocked, then they need to add it to the agenda to resolve the block, don't they?
yeah.
what we initially decided was just the Kanban, like we do in GitHub, but to do in progress and done. That you want to have blocked as well.
Yeah. Blocked, maybe cancelled as well, I think, if they decide to just cancel it.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think maybe part of this is training people how to use the tool really effectively, because if they come to an action item when they're going over their action items from the last meeting and the status they're assigning to it is blocked, then they need to just go to the agenda while they're in the meeting. They don't need to put it on the tool. It's like something they do later, but they need to talk about resolving the block. So maybe there shouldn't ever be an action item ending with blocked. If the block can't be resolved, then it's cancelled, as you say, Andre.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just thinking through the process in an actual meeting, and yeah.
Yes.
I personally, I think it can be covered in free, because if you're not doing it, you can just put it back to do. Yeah.
Oh no, because you need to be able to say we're not doing it at all.
Isn't that a kind of isn't that a substate? No, I suppose it's done in a way, though, isn't it? Though I don't know. I suppose, yeah.
No, because you haven't done it.
No, I know.
But it definitely, block doesn't need to be there. I've thought through. I can see that it doesn't.
If it's like a temporary block, then it just stays in progress.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets.
Yeah. So just cancelled. You want to capture cancelled. Yeah, that could be useful actually, because I can see how it could be useful. Cancelled. Okay. Because often we find ourselves raising action items that don't come to fruition.
Yeah.
And okay, cool. That's great work, Andre. And the final thing is what's the confirmed summaries? What's the difference?
Yeah. It's finally there, but this thing is far from finished. What it will look like is this big text box will show the raw markdown,
right,
and just to the right of it, it will show how it will output. In say GitBook. So then you can edit markdown before you submit it, and only we will have access to this confirmed summaries, so we can quickly look if the work group lead maybe made a mistake somewhere, then we can maybe fix it. I don't know.
How
Freeze.
do we, like, say if somebody put 2023 instead of 2022, how do we, in confirmed summaries, will we just go into the markdown version in that field and just change it there? Is that
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah. You just change it there and then submit. So any quick edits, you just quickly edit it there.
And then that'll output it to the repo, which will in turn output it to the GitBook. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And you'll get a nice preview on the right-hand side. So if you input something wrong, then you'll immediately see it.
Cool. That'd be really cool. Yeah. No, that's really great.
It's fantastic. I'm just really excited.
Yeah,
how
no,
it's
it's really going well. I put in the issue, oh, sorry, not that one, just that point about status, Andre. Is there anything, other notes you want to add there at all from this discussion?
There is one thing, how this thing is set up. If you do the meeting summaries and someone else does a meeting summary, say I do a meeting summary and I only did it half, and someone else comes along and they want to complete it. How it works is it just saves a new meeting summary. So it's going to keep that half one in the database. But I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just something I need to sort out.
Isn't that about who allocating responsibility for who does the meeting summary?
Yeah. So all I'm going to do is I'm only going to capture the latest meeting summary of the week. That's I'll have to figure out how to look at users. I'll find a way. There might be, I can just see some possible cause of error there, but I think I'll be able to fix it.
That's a persistence of partly filled meeting summaries.
But presumably somebody who comes along to complete a half-finished one, they would be
that's the only
change the things that are persisting from the last effort. Like if somebody had started it and they'd done it wrong, which I imagine might happen a bit at first.
Yeah. And then if someone else comes and they give it to someone else and they take up and they complete it in the same user interface.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of, it sounds like there needs to be some sort of sign off.
Yeah.
So where
from the group, you mean? Or from, because the sign off is from us.
What I mean is, let's say we're members of the work group, archive work group, and only us three can do meeting summaries. That's what I mean. So when we log in, the person who does the summary, they lock out other people from that date.
Pretty much, yeah. Only one person can do the meeting summary.
And if you want to change that, you have to delete the summary or get permission or something.
No, someone else can do it, but it's preferred if you don't do it that way. Maybe I should just add, like you say, maybe I should just add a delete button.
Maybe, but I might hold back a bit on that because I think, again, this is a testing issue, maybe, Andre. So because I think you should concentrate on, that's my view, is getting a first function out there.
The cool thing is you can only delete your own summaries.
That's
so
good.
You can't delete other people's summaries. That's part of the security. So
does it record the Discord username that created the summary when it actually posts it to GitBook? Because I think it'd be quite cool to see.
Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, that'd be very useful actually thinking about it. So record this Discord username in Markdown.
You'll find a space somewhere that shows.
So you could actually have that as a subheading under a kind of like a GitBook entry, couldn't you? So yeah, that would be useful. So because this summary was done by XYZ kind of thing.
Yes.
That does raise a question, which is probably just a testing issue, and we'll have to see what people think. But there's people in the community who sometimes go by their actual name and sometimes by their Discord name. And I just think, yeah, people just probably need to know that it's their Discord name that gets recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in terms of summaries, maybe when people log who was present, they should do it by Discord names. Maybe there should be a little pop-up that tells them that.
We kind of discussed that, didn't we? We decided that it should be up to the people, so people choose that. Well, that's a good point, actually, because you need consistency across different work groups, don't you?
Well, I don't know if you necessarily need consistency, but I tend to believe that people have a Discord name that isn't their actual name for a reason. So probably they mostly want you to record them as their nickname.
Yeah, again, we're going to need to test that and get feedback on that, I think,
Yeah, absolutely.
on how people want their names
Yeah.
recorded, basically.
I mean, not wanting to sort of name names or anything, but I will do because I'm sure he won't mind, is that Walter appears sometimes as Walter and sometimes as Wacker. And I just think if anybody was going to be querying, oh, who attended such a meeting, he'd then appear as two people, which would be quite weird.
Yeah. I think, again, there's a couple of issues to go on there. There's kind of like contribution issues, and it could be, like if we're using this for decision items and budgets and stuff, maybe in the future. But then there's the anonymity issue, I suppose, as you said, as well. So I think we need to just test it, really, to see and get feedback.
Yeah.
Anything else on this? Great work again.
Hey.
And with that, we've overrun by 10 minutes or so. I think we covered right, so that meeting issue, the meeting issue was just an issue of the status.
Yes, I think I know what's wrong with this. This action has actually got like 3 GitHub actions that run, and I think the last one failed. The last one is supposed to move it into this project board.
Right.
The state, yeah, I'll need to go check.
Okay. We discussed fund requests, and we discussed Read AI.
Should the created meeting issue have a price assigned to it, or?
Yes, it does. I just can't remember what it was now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was. I can't remember what the last one was now. What was it costed?
I don't know. I was asking, does it?
Yeah, it's $200 per meeting. Again, that's up for debate or discussion, but it is currently $200, and that cost is not just for the meeting, but preparation and timestamping and follow up and all that kind of stuff as well, for the sake of this recording. But okay, well, thank you, everyone. That's the meeting of the 18th of October, and I'll stop sharing and stop recording. Thank you.